Hey, my dandelions, I have to ask you, are you ever having one of those days where it just feels like nothing's going right, or you're just so tired and grouchy and you cannot get out of your own head to enjoy the day, but then something otherworldly, something you might call divine intervention happens, and it just flips the whole script, and suddenly none of that even matters, and it just completely changes your whole day. That happened to me today, y'all. I'm a firm believer in God's timing and His divine intervention, and today was so much proof of it. Let me tell you, we just came off of a 4-day extended holiday hour work weekend. I'm exhausted, I'm ready to go home, and I'm tired, and it's had me in a little bit of a mood today just because I'm like ready for it to be over with, And a customer came in. It was this lovely older couple. James was working with the husband. The wife was over there on one of our beds, reclined up, adjustable base, all the good stuff. And the husband tells me that he has PTSD, like really bad PTSD. And I was like, oh man, have you heard of grounding? Like getting a grounding mat. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, I have heard about that. And we started talking about that. And he was like, hey, honey. He was like, he's talking about grounding. And so then the wife was like, oh, you know about that? So I walked over to her and I sat down and we just started talking. Y'all, the most incredible conversation happened. Me and her had the most just incredible, amazing kiki. It was so wonderful. We started talking. She started telling me about her past and reminiscing, and we opened up about how like I have MS and she has autoimmune issues too and stuff. And she was like, one thing she was telling me one thing that really helps her is she likes to take edibles at night. And I was like, yes, queen, you better work. we talked about it, and she was born the same year as my dad, 1956. So she was telling me about what it was like living in the 70s. She was like, it was the best time. Man, we had access. She's like, I grew up in Georgia. She's like, I was near the base where like all the army boys were coming in. She's like, and they were bringing some of the best stuff you'd ever try from like Vietnam. She's like, man, I miss those days. It was so wonderful. She was like, we would just get high and just reminiscing and like living. And I love to hear people's stories. And I told her, I was like, the 70s and 80s I wish I had grown up in those time periods, because I always hear so many cool stories and so much fun about it. And she was just telling me about that. And then she asked me, what do I like? She was like, you have autoimmune issues too, so you understand. She's like, it is so important to live. It is so important to embrace life and enjoy it and live it and love your life. She's like, and I know you have an autoimmune disease. She's like, and I know it makes things difficult. She's like, but don't let that stop you. And I wanted to cry a little bit, but I didn't. But I was just like, man, you have no idea. Like, I love to travel, but having an autoimmune disease makes that harder. But the one thing I love more than anything is going to a concert and seeing some live music. It's just chef's kiss, like my favorite thing to do. I get so much peace. I get so much just like energy from those moments. And she was like, me too. And she was like, she's like, tell me, what's been one of your favorite concerts you've gone to? And I told her, okay, I have a couple of them. She was like, okay. And I was like, one of my absolute favorite concerts we went to back in 2024 is when we saw Stevie Nicks in New Orleans. And she was like, man, she's like, I love Stevie. She's like, I've been listening to Fleetwood like forever. She's like, did you know how much of a badass and a bombshell Stevie Nicks was? Like, back, if you had seen her back in the 70s. And I was like, girl, I know. I was like, she still is. She's a bad mamma jamma, but I was like, she was a bombshell back then. And she was just telling me, she was like, my husband, he was deployed on tour back in the 70s in Germany, and he saw Stevie Nicks live in concert back then, and she performed with Bob Marley and someone else. I forget the other person, my apologies. And he came over and was like, he's like, I hear what y'all are talking about. He's like, yeah, it was like an 8-hour show. It was life-changing. He's like, Stevie Nicks is so bad. He's like, man, I was like, I know. I was like, I saw her 2 years ago and she's still bad. Like, Stevie is that girl. And so we started talking about how you, like, when you see live artists and, like, you get that energy and just everything from them. And I told her it was like Stevie was up there on stage casting spells on us. Like, it felt like she was just like changing our lives, casting spells, performing magic. And it was in New Orleans, like the home of the voodoo magic and everything. And before she started performing, Stevie even told us that she was so thrilled to be performing this show in New Orleans because it was her favorite place to be, and she feels so spiritually connected there. So, and when I said that, the lady was like, oh my God, yes. She was like, that's exactly what it's like. She's like, because you're feeding off that energy. She's like, I'm a very energy person. She's like, when I tell you, when I die, the way I want to be in my room, and I want the windows open so that way when I pass, my energy can escape. She's like, because I am all about energies. I was like, oh my God, you're making my whole day. Like, I love having this conversation with you. And she was like, what's one of the other concerts? You mentioned more than one. And I told her, I was like, well, I was very blessed that I got to go see Beyonce's Cowboy Carter show, but a few weeks ago we saw Florence and the Machine. And she was like, I don't know her. And I was like, she's a artist from UK, and she's really fantastic. And you want to talk about witchy and spell casting and stuff like that? I was like, Florence is another. I was like, and it was so cool because Florence's opener is one of my favorite newer artists. I told her she's from Ireland. She's a country artist named CMAT. And it was so cool that they performed together. And she was like, I'm so happy that you got to live that moment and experience that. That's amazing. And so we just talked, and y'all, when I tell you, it filled my heart. Like, it filled my cup. My gas tank completely full. I needed all of that. I needed her energy. I needed her to touch my life. She gave me a hug, and she was like, I've got to get a hug from you. She was like, you have such a beautiful energy. She's like, she was like, do you believe in God and divine intervention? She's like, because we weren't even going to stop at this store. She's like, and her husband even chimed in and said, he's like, something like magnetized us to this store, and it was you. And I was like, I do believe in God, and I do believe in divine intervention. I was like, this was meant to be. We needed each other. We needed this conversation. You flipped my whole mood and my whole script around. Like, you're the reason that I'm learning to love life again. And what you told me, what you explained to me in this conversation, and you told me to live life and enjoy it and love it. That's what I'm talking about. I needed that life lesson. You literally changed my life today. And I gave her a big hug. It was so beautiful. Moments like that, y'all. Like, that was God. God knew that I needed that. And maybe she was going through something too, that we needed to fill each other's cups up with love and light. But we did that for each other. And I'll never be able to thank God enough for moments like this. I hope you experience it too. I hope you have these kind of moments. These are what make life so magical and so special. These are blessings. These are blessings that I don't take for granted. And that I can never thank God enough for. I even told the lady about my mom, and I really feel like my mom had a part in making this moment happen. Thank you, Mama Bear. It's little things like this, y'all. Keep your heart open so that you can experience God's blessings, these divine interventions, because this is what makes life so magical and so worthwhile. I love you all. Thank you for listening. I hope you also get these moments, and I just love you so much.